It's a growth industry. Hey, this is Paul Hitchcock with the asset protection and estate planning firm Barth Calderon. Got a great episode of Wealth Protector TV today. Paralegal Craig Strom joins me and he breaks down what assets are impacted by a lawsuit, meaning which ones do you lose and which ones do you keep. I bet you're going to be surprised. This is an eye-opening discussion. You're gonna love it. Let's go jump in. Everybody, thanks for joining us here on Wealth Protector TV. I'm Paul Hitchcock. I'm here with my colleague Craig Strom, and we are all about delivering value to you and making sure that we're keeping you dialed into important topics. We're an asset protection, estate planning, and business planning firm with clients across the country, headquartered in sunny Southern California. Craig, thanks for being here.
Hey, good to see you again, Paul. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
We got through Thanksgiving. You definitely look like you put on a few pounds, but I'm not going to say anything about that on the in public.
Turkey hangover. Well, yeah. So, and let's jump into this important topic. So this is about asset protection, and if you are sued, and remember, there's 40 million lawsuits filed in the United States every year. It's only getting worse, and it's a cottage industry. So we just all accept the fact it's happening, it's going on, and you've got to be buttoned up. But if life does throw you a curveball, and Craig, we get hair on fire calls every week about people are being sued. Yeah, no asset protection. They're nervous. They're losing stuff. It happens. And the hardest thing for us is to convince people, okay, this is real. Got to get this in place. Just do what you can. Be smart about it. And so what we're talking about now is if there is a curveball and a liability, looking at the assets, what do you get to keep and what is toast? And so let's jump into this.
Absolutely. Let me do a screen share here. Tell me when this pops up. So we're going to do this fast and furious because you are recording this so that folks can go back and rewind it. This is going to be specific to a client family, or based on a client family that actually is here in California. However, they have family properties in other states, namely Hawaii and other states. Okay.
Right.
So there's a concern here with a lawsuit inbound. Now, what we mean by that is something happened. Okay. In one of these hair on fire phone calls was a case, for example, where one of the kids in the family actually on the way to school ran into a child at a crosswalk at an elementary school. Now, the police determined it to be an accident because that young child legitimately ran out into the street and there was no way to avoid the accident. But now the family is very concerned about the potential for a civil lawsuit inbound. They're worried about this. So the hair on fire, as you said, Paul, that phone call comes in. Oh my gosh, are we at risk?
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. Horrible story.
So,
yeah.
We're going to go through this conversation as if this family had not actually met our team yet. Now, this family has met our team. This family is a client of the firm and has done really, really good estate planning and asset protection. But we like to go through this just to talk about what if there was a lawsuit inbound and this family had not done their planning.
Yep.
So, Paul, that lawsuit for a young girl hit by a car, terribly injured, that lawsuit in California, or anywhere for that matter, could be pretty big. So Let's talk about it. Okay, we're going to look at this screen here. We're going to start up on the top left-hand side. They have a home. In California, they have a homestead exemption, and yet their home is worth way more than the homestead exemption. So here's the reality. The reality is that they will likely be able to keep their homestead exemption and lose whatever equity is above that. This is real. Okay, they'll keep homestead, but they might lose the house.
And Craig,
He,
homestead exemption is, I know it's changed in California. It's different in every
yes,
state,
it
but
actually
yeah,
bumped up a few years ago. It's now over $600,000, but their primary home is worth 1.2 million.
right. Yeah.
Nowadays in Southern California, the average 3-bedroom home, right? So they're going to potentially lose the house in this scenario. Now, she inherited a family home in Hawaii, and she maintained that home in her name only. There is no limited liability company around it. It's very likely that that home could be at risk in a creditor claim. It's at risk. We're not saying that this is guaranteed to happen. We're saying this is a big risk.
Yeah,
They
because
have
part
cash.
of
Yeah.
well, you say they have cash in there, but part of the thing with asset protection is putting up barriers and roadblocks to somebody just grabbing it and taking it.
That's a great way to put it, Paul. Yes, we like roadblocks, speed bumps, moats around the castle, spike strips, whatever you think of in your mind. You got to put barriers in front of your assets. Okay, good point. Let's keep going. Fast and furious. I promised. Life insurance cash value. They actually have some nice cash value in life insurance in California. Not as protected as people think. Very much an at-risk asset. Even college savings plans, if the money is not in there for a long period of time, more than 2 years, money that's in a college savings plan could be at risk from creditors. Folks
And
don't
Craig,
know that one.
No, and I want to say too that we had a case recently where somebody that we knew, a life insurance representative, his client came into our firm, got with one of our attorneys, wasn't a referral, came in, he was being sued and did not realize, his cash value plan that this insurance broker sold him. And it was a great plan. It's good. It was good retirement focus, sold it to him. And it did not know that it was subject to attack from this lawsuit. And, it was an awkward situation because the life insurance guy, like, why didn't you tell him this? This is a big deal. It should have been in an LLC, right? Irrevocable life insurance trust.
Exactly.
Around the
Something should have had some protected entity around that life insurance. Yeah, good point. There are ways to fix all of these, by the way. I know I promise fast and furious, but just know that there are ways to fix each of these. They're not terribly complicated or overly expensive. They are things that have to be actually implemented in order to make the protection stick. Okay.
Right. How about stocks, bonds, and cash?
That's just a very quick, that's in their name as a joint ownership. That's gone. That's very easily attacked. Now, the one that is not is a 401k. A 401k is a federally protected asset. It is untouchable. It's untouchable. Creditors cannot get to 401k assets. Okay.
And Craig, another quick comment on the stocks, bonds, and cash, because again, we did a talk not long ago to Merrill Lynch and their top advisors, and the discussion was, hey, if your clients have millions with you in stocks, bonds, and cash, got to have the discussion, stocks, bonds, and cash, limited liability company. Put it around. You can do it. And it's, not hard to get done. Yeah. And then all of a sudden
there's an easy way to protect it. Absolutely.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. There's a rental property. These folks own a little rental property, and the rental property was just held in their name. That's this rental property right over here. And if it's held in your name and it's not protected by an LLC, frankly, and Paul, you've said it, our attorneys have said it, you should never own rental property that's not in a limited liability company ever. You just shouldn't do it.
Yep.
No, and so that is very much an easily attackable asset. You bought some gold from William Devane because you were up at 3 o'clock in the morning eating ice cream because you thought the family wasn't around, and you bought some gold. That's going to be very easily found in a creditor case. They're going to grab that. Now, we're going to finish over here on this middle section with this rollover pig, okay?
Yes.
This is an interesting one that a lot of folks miss, that this rollover IRA came from an old 401k. And because it came from an old 401k, it is protected under the same federal protections.
So as long as you can trace it back to the 401k, you're okay?
As long as you can connect the lineage of that account back to an original ERISA protected plan, safe asset.
Solid.
Okay.
Solid.
Very, very hard to touch. Okay?
Well, it's interesting too, Craig, because a lot of people today are taking their 401ks, rolling them into an IRA, buying real estate with them. So that whole asset protection thing becomes critically important when you're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a client that actually had done that and then built a gigantic real estate portfolio that actually grew out of 401k assets and was very concerned about asset protection and did not realize that just the way he did it, because he tracked everything back to the source, his real estate is now sitting in a ERISA protected structure because it came from a 401k.
Nice.
Yep. Good point. Now, down on the bottom, this one here, I think the key to the bottom line on this slide is proper structures and proper entities. That's the key. And if you're not sure exactly whether you have the right LLC, whether you should have an S Corp or a C Corp, Paul mentions this all the time. Take advantage of the complimentary consultations that we offer as a firm, because it's not something that can be covered quick in a simple slide discussion, but it is critically important, and you'll see that as we go through.
We're going to start. I'm going to tell you how to get signed. Yeah, I'm going to tell you how to get signed.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I just because you brought it up, I'm just going to share this real quick. So this is what you want to do for the complimentary assessment as we get into this. If you can see this slide, is you want to text Guard Assets to that phone number, and you'll fill out a quick form, and we'll book it one-on-one. Start with Craig, and we'll dive into what you got and get you connected to Craig and the attorneys for a complimentary assessment, observations, recommendations, and how to get pulled together, organized and updated. So text Guard Assets to that phone number. It all makes sense when you do it. It's easy. I'll show that again before we go, but Craig, you can share your screen now again.
All right, perfect. All right, let me make sure we've got it up here. All right. Got that back?
Boom.
All right, we're going to start on the bottom right-hand side. A traditional IRA, individual retirement account in the state of California and in some other states, but in California specifically, that is an at-risk asset. It does not carry the asset protection of a 401k.
Good to know. Good to know.
Now, the next one is an S Corp that was formed in California and operated in California. Now, most people don't realize that if there's a creditor claim against John and Jane up here, the creditor can come after whatever stocks, bonds, cash, and real estate they own. And if they own S Corp shares that are based in California, there is a procedure that an attorney can go after those shares. There is a legal maneuver, a set of legal maneuvers that they can go after the shares of a California S Corp.
So what you're saying there is the S Corp, people set that up for the internal protection, stuff that liabilities at the corporation, but this is an outside liability looking at assets, and the S Corp is vulnerable.
Absolutely. That's a great point you bring up, Paul, that the S Corp, C Corp, LLC, all these entities do a pretty good job of protecting from liabilities that arise inside the entity. But you're right, this has happened outside. They had a personal liability that is now attacking the family, and there are legal maneuvers that lawyers can go after the shares of things you own. And if you own a California S Corp, it could be one of those items they go after.
And we're not going to get into this now because there's more detail, but there's a Plan F reorganization. We do about 8, 9 a month, changing the S Corp to an LLC, which continues to be taxed as the S. That's just a tax election. So it's not a sale of the company. It's not a big deal to get this done.
Exactly.
Do it all the time. So yeah, that'll be another session. We'll get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Because actually, I'll touch on it as well on the final piece on this slide.
Good.
But you might figure the same answer here, but it will be the same answer. They own a C Corp in California, but the law looks at it like they own shares of stock in a company, and there are legal maneuvers where the creditor's attorney can go after the shares of the C Corp.
Right.
And then The last two, though, this is where we'll touch on what you just mentioned, Paul. The single member LLC restaurant. Single member is the key, but it's also a single member LLC in California. And we won't go into the details right now, but let's just say that single member is not at all the most favorable way to establish any entity, let alone an LLC, and definitely not in California. This is very easily taken in a creditor claim. The one that we want to really highlight, though, this is that Plan F reorganization that you talked about, Paul. Right. This is where an S Corp was actually converted to a limited liability company with multiple members in a different state. It is not in California. It's operated in California, but it's not registered in, it's not created in California. So here's the key. This multiple member LLC formed in an outside state, that is the protected entity for very specific reasons because of where it was formed, how it's operated, and the multiple member structure. They did a Plan F reorganization in this case, so they get S Corp tax benefits with the right LLC protection. So really good that you brought that up, Paul.
Yeah, great. No, this is a great quick hit on what people should be thinking about. And Craig, love it. And the way we look at asset protection, and I know the attorneys say it, you say it, Craig, is it's part of your big picture, really financial planning, right? You're doing financial planning, you're looking at your assets. People often neglect asset protection because they don't think about it until something happens. Then, you know, they go crazy. So this is pre-plan is the best time to do it. And I'm going to, again, share my screen and show you how to get one-on-one with us. If you take a look at this here, if you text Guard Assets to that phone number, again, what happens is you get one-on-one with Craig and the team of attorneys, and we'll look at what you got, give you our thoughts, and give you a sort of a blueprint on here's how you get organized, protected, and updated with your planning. So, Craig, awesome. Awesome. Love it. And I want to tell everybody we're doing these every week. This is Wealth Protector TV. So keep an eye out on your email. We'll alert you, and the next ones are coming up. We do this really cranking this out now every what are we, Craig, here? Wednesday, 7 a.m. California time. And so you can be live here and ask questions. And we're going to be kicking these off big time heading into the new year. Craig, awesome stuff.
You got it. Take care, Paul.
All right. We'll see you next time.